What if you built something in a weekend and only 10 days later you had 1,000 users? That's what happened with me. I built an Islamic AI app called Sheikh AI using Webflow, Zapier, and ChatGPT. No ads, no investors, no full team. And by the first week, we had around 500 users, and by the 10th day, we had 1,000. In this video, I'm going to map out exactly how I did it, from the idea to the MVP to growth and distribution. If you want to build faster, launch smarter, and get real users, this might be the most useful video you watch all week. And if you're someone trying to build your own product, I break this stuff down in real time inside my school community, where I teach people with no experience to build, scale, and distribute real software. The link's in the description if you want to join. Right, so let's get straight into what really started it. There's an Islamic website called Sheikh AI. It's basically a forum that allows people to ask any Islamic question and they'll get a trusted response by a sheikh. However, there's a few problems. The design's outdated, square borders, the UX is horrendous, it hasn't even got a proper search function. And then I saw this button at the top, try a new website. So I thought, finally they've got a new website. That took me to this. It's a little bit better, rounded edges, looks a bit more friendly, but it still doesn't match modern day design principles. They've got all this white space here. They haven't even got a proper logo. These categories don't even make any sense to new Muslims. It's just, it can be done so much better. Using this feels like we're stuck in the early 2000s. Yes, there is a lot of knowledge on here, but the design's dated. And also on a mobile, it's a very, very bad experience. So I thought, could I use AI to make this a little bit better? And this makes people angry, frustrated. So I thought, could I make this a little bit better? Building software doesn't start with features, it starts with frustration. As soon as someone is frustrated at a current problem, that's when you get an idea to build a solution around it. So for the MVP, I kept it very, very simple. In Webflow, it was just a page that had a form, right? The information from that form would then get sent to Zapier. Zapier would then break down that information into chunks and give it to ChatGPT. Now, what's important here is I didn't let ChatGPT create an answer because relying on an AI for Islamic knowledge is horrendous and will never work. What I did was I made ChatGPT search the internet for books by trusted scholars, articles, and ironically, forums. So what ChatGPT was actually doing is finding the answer on Islam QA, but delivering it in a much more modern way. It would store it in Airtable, but then also send it as an email to the user where they would get the response. Once that was done, I wanted to test it and validate it to see if this was actually a viable product. So I asked my friends and family, they're the best people to go to, and I asked them a few questions. How much would you pay for this? This would give me an idea of whether I would charge $10 a month, $7 a month, etc. Would you use this? Is it even a viable product? Is it worth it? How often would you use this? A very important question because it would help me price the application. If someone only uses the application once a month, $10 is actually quite a lot. But if they use it every single day, then I could easily charge 10 or maybe even a little bit more. Once I got those responses, I just logged it in my notes. There's no need to make this complicated. Now, what's important here is I wasn't actually chasing feedback. I was watching usage. I wanted to see what real Muslims actually ask. That's where the gold is. Now it's time for V2 of the product. So I updated it by making the form look a little bit nicer. Here's an example here. Much more modern than just a normal email form. And then now the answer would actually display live on the web page. And then also set up a waitlist. This is one of the posts that we put out. Simple. Very, very simple to even get a preview of what the application will look like. Again, what's important here is we had minimal code. At the beginning, there was no code at all. Now we've got a little bit more custom code just to make sure we get more of a tailored answer to the user, but it was still very, very rough just for the MVP. That's what's important. Once we get users and even paying users, we can start to build out a proper application with custom code solutions. Every system I use to build this, from the UI to the automation, is taught inside of my community. So if you're building AI tools or you want to learn how to build your own SaaS application, it's all there. Now is the important part. Growth. How are we actually going to get people to use this application? We've validated it by family and friends. They were willing to pay for it. So we know this is a product and a viable one. I knew what I was good at, building. But what I wasn't good at and didn't have any experience in is marketing. So I needed to find someone to do marketing. Now, we weren't making any money. Money was very, very low. I also didn't want to put much of my own money into it. So what could we do? Give out equity, give out percentage of profits. So to find someone, I went into my internal network. Who do I know that knows how to push B2C content? My friend Kasim. right? As you can see here, he's got many businesses. This is also actually one that we're working on, but he knows very well how to push content, get followers, and make money from that, right? So I did something very simple. I did an equity deal. I gave Kasim 50% of the company. You're probably thinking, why would I give someone 50% of the company? Reason being is I'm very good at building. My handwriting is horrendous, but I'm very good at building products. I know what to do. I can take user feedback and iterate on that. It also meant that I could focus more of my time on the UI and the UX of the application and actually adding features people cared about. I was rubbish at marketing. Kasim is good, which means he can focus on the marketing, on the content to push that out. He has his own team that he can manage. And it also meant I didn't have to spend a penny from his own pocket. From his own pocket. Right? And then from that, he'd get half of the company, all profits that were made. Now, obviously, you know from the title of this video that this did, in fact, work, right? Now, it looks like we only got 800 followers, but vanity metrics is not what we go for. Users, likes, views, that's not important. What's important is waitlist signups. This one video got nearly 1 million views. The end of this video then had a CTA, call to action, to get people to sign up to a link in our bio for early access. The key phrase to mention is we use the term early access. It's not a complete lie, but it's also not the complete truth. Nearly every single user we got in this time period was obviously part of early access because the application only launched a few days ago. But that link would then take people to this sign up page where they would enter their email and then get added to a waitlist. And after a couple of hours, they would be able to use the application. You don't need to raise money. You definitely don't need to wait until your code is perfect. What you need to do is just solve a real problem, right? This wasn't a lucky launch. It was strategy, a simple build, a launch plan that gets in front of real people. Strategy, system, speed. And that's exactly what I teach inside the community that I'm building. If this video helped you, imagine what it's like inside my community. I break down real strategies like this. I even teach you how to build products with no code and even complex code. I'll show you how to ship MVPs, scale them, market them. If you want to stop guessing and start building, join us inside my community. The link's in the description. See you inside.